and convene open session at 10:25 a.m. That's pretty good timing. No final decisions were made and no votes were taken in executive session. The public phone line has been unmuted and representatives of the media may once again report all board discussions and actions. And then we're going to let the public back in. What? Okay, give us a second. We got public here, and then he's stopping the recording.
Okay.
You want to let them back in?
Yeah.
Thank you, Nate.
Are they alive?
Yes. Okay. I sent all of you the Rules Advisory Committee interest form, and you can feel free to hand that out. It'll go out to all estheticians, all advanced estheticians, but we can get into that here in a moment. So we're back to the agenda, and the next item on the agenda is 2023 meeting dates. And I know you guys voted on them at the last meeting, but I wasn't here, as you know. So on June 12th and October 23rd, what our plan is that we will have the cosmetology board and the advanced aesthetics board meet together. In June, they would approve proposed rules. And since the 2970 is really based on collaboration by both boards in determining what devices are, any scope of practice, we thought the best method is to get everybody in the same room. There'll be separate meetings. They'll each give notice. I'm not exactly sure how it's all going to work, but I, have done never done dual meetings before. It'll be interesting. I have done offsites, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. That's all I'm going to say. And then we would this is all flexible timing. I mean, it really depends on how long the Rules Advisory Committee takes to hash out. My vision is we're going to hash out some of the really popular devices and kind of get them off the plate, and then probably have to go back to the drawing board and add more in, because it's almost impossible to think of all the devices that could be and how we're going to make them all work. So, and we have a schematic, which I think you guys saw several meetings ago, and it's actually in the House Bill 2970 outreach and communication page, which I'll go over in a moment. So if I can just get a motion to approve these 3 meeting dates would be great. January 23rd, June 12th, and October 23rd.
This is Michelle. I make a motion to approve those dates.
This is Tracy, a second.
I will now call roll. Michelle Strobel.
Aye.
Tracy.
Aye.
Keenan.
Yay.
Harold.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Okay. Now moving to the next piece. So this is all the overview. Let me get my agenda here. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of walk us through kind of where we've been. So, and everybody should have gotten this background information, the legislation piece on 2970 in their email back in September. If you didn't get it, it's because we don't have your updated email address. So I want to make sure that we get that on the books. You can email me and I can turn it in. You can email April and turn it in. You can call, and there's an HOO line that you can just email me and I can give you all the information. But anybody who's on the phone in the public didn't get this, an esthetician's piece, then we have the wrong email address. So we know in 2015, the legislature created the Advanced Aesthetics Board, and in doing so, they corralled all of the US FDA devices as part of the Advanced Aesthetics Board scope of practice, which then in turn removed it from the aesthetics scope of practice. So understand this was problematic because there's a lot of joining it all in advanced aesthetics gave regular estheticians know where to go. Like they couldn't use any US FDA approved devices. So understanding that, and we really got to understand that in 2019 when we did that rulemaking. It was a large rulemaking that took about 1.5 years, where we wrote a rule basically laying out what the FDA says is regular aesthetics. Having the skin be luminous and I have it in there. Luminous and basic, really basic facial type stuff is all they're really looking at. And so there's a rule about that still there. And then in 2020, we tried to pass House Bill 4016. Is that right? I don't think that's the right number, but it could be. And that did not pass, but it was trying to eliminate the US FDA device piece and then add in some specific devices for estheticians to use. Didn't pass in the short session. Ding, 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 over to 2021, House Bill 2970. It was a collaboration with the Oregon Estheticians for Fair Licensing. They kind of started the ball rolling, and then we all worked together with Legislative Council to try and come up with the best solution to figuring this out. And so the legislature laid out those types of devices that they think are in regular aesthetics. So it gives us a guidepost to those similar types of devices can be used by estheticians. It also, and by doing so, they basically define mechanical or electrical apparatus, appliance, or devices that don't include lasers or intense pulse light because they're in advanced aesthetics. And they also set some, I don't know, limitations, but gave us some information about depth, right, of skin. So mechanical or electrical apparatus, appliances, or devices, including but not limited to galvanic current, high-frequency microcurrents, light-emitting diode therapy, and microdermabrasion that does not penetrate beyond the epidermis except through natural physiological effects. So that definition gives us a guidepost as to what is in basic aesthetics, and then the overall bill says Advanced Aesthetics Board and Cosmetology Board, you need to work together and collaborate on what devices are in each profession. So that's where we're at. So the RAC has met. We didn't get too far. It's really, we were still trying to find our footing on how we really wanted to work it out because it is two different professions and it's new to try to do something like this. So we only got 2 meetings in. I think we are going down the right path by asking questions, and we actually saw where some devices could be in both practices with some limitations. So we'll be looking at those things, continuing on that path. And so with that said, the Advanced Aesthetics Board met. Does everybody have their materials up, or do you want me to share my screen? Okay, I'll just read through it. So they met and laid out some communities likely to be affected that they thought is important for us to get on the right. So LGBTQIP2SAA+. So, and some of these groups I already have contact information for because I've worked with them on the electrology and midwife board. So we're just, as we go, we're creating this compilation of people we can always reach out to. And again, this is all new. We've never had to do it this way before. So we're kind of, I think HLO's kind of trailblazing. I haven't heard too much about other boards actually starting to do rulemaking yet because it's difficult. And then so that group and specifically transgender community because for hair removal. So they actually set that one out specifically. Small businesses, including medi-spas and cosmetology facilities. And under contact information, I just kind of gave a rundown of places that I will reach out to not guaranteeing I can get anybody, but, they'll get, usually they always have a government relations person, so I'll be reaching out to all of them. Educators for, both professions. And yes, for both professions, how did that get there? Organized solutions for fair licensing should be under licensees. Oops, sorry. All the different medical professionals, so they called out dermatologists and medical assistants specifically, so I'll be going through their boards, the associations, and obviously the licensees that we're dealing with. Indigenous people, there's actually a tribal affairs process that I have to use. And they actually decide if they want to be part of the rulemaking or not. And it's a whole thing where we send a letter direct to tribal leaders, and it goes through a certain group in OHA, public health, and it's a whole thing. So there's a process for that. And then people of color, which I have reached out to some of those groups in the for advanced aesthetic or electrology and midwifery. And then other people that of interest would be radiation protection, which we have somebody who serves as an ex officio member on the advanced aesthetics board. So that will be, he'll send a representative of that. Rural communities, I'll do a sort through HLO database of zip codes to try to specifically hit people like that. And then consumers, I think I said early on that we've started to find a way to try to get public on. So reaching out to all the OHA, different staff, emails, public press releases. So I've started doing all of those types of things to get the word out to as many people as possible. And then there were several that they said didn't necessarily need to be on the committee, but that could be a useful community as a subject matter expert. So key opinion leaders, which I didn't even know those existed. All these years here, I had no idea what that was. And then they said Allergan, Mertz. And so I looked those up. So I'll be reaching out to those people, and they were interested in possibly insurance, the people doing malpractice insurance, liability insurance, that kind of stuff. And then I found some other associations that it appears that they have some type of insurance that estheticians and advanced estheticians can buy. So with that being said, they kind of hit on everything. If there's communities you think they've missed, please fill in the blanks. So let me just run. So they pretty much, we give you in the issue statement, we kind of give you a synopsis of what those communities look like, and I've just given you a lot of them. So consider additional groups unified by common characteristics. So Black communities, Indigenous communities, people of color, veterans, low income, social characteristics, historical characteristics, economic characteristics, political, employment, business, geographic. So we've got geographic, we've got the business piece. Do we have? I don't know of the social, historical, and economic. Really, maybe with consumers, if I get a consumer, the economic piece might be interesting. And if certain devices are definitely out of advanced or out of regular aesthetics, that could be economical factor. I have to wait and see. These are all listed on the interest form, so and people self-report what that looks like. And then they can write things in as well. So it's, whatever they tell me, and then I have a mechanism, a tracking mechanism, and make sure I've got someone in each of those slots. But like I said, it's been successful so far. So I expect the same thing, just with more meetings. So do you guys have anything that they missed?
This is Michelle. No, that sounds like a good list to start with. Sounds like a big list.
Why can we hear her? Or why can she hear? What's happening?
The public needs to mute their phone.
I don't know who this is. Name. Who is this?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you weren't talking to me.
I don't know what's happening. How can they talk? Never mind. Okay, there was somebody who wanted to talk in the public, so, public comment will be under number 6. So as soon as this part is over, we will go into public comment. So if we have all the lists, then everybody that you think, you know, I suppose if there's somebody, you think of somebody or have additional resources that I've missed, please, by all means, funnel them my way, because like I said, we're building this list to be used in the future for other boards, for future rulemaking for you guys. I'll just quickly kind of go over the schedule, my plan. Hopefully it works. I don't know if it will. So between now and first part of January, I'll be getting the RAC interest forms out, getting making phone calls, emails, getting. I'm thinking 12 people, maybe 10, but I wanted to try to get a good representation for each profession, and then at least a consumer and some kind of medical provider. That's my hope. So that's my hope. And then we'll have the radiation protection person for sure. So the first RAC will be January 30th at 9 a.m. And then I just put when the boards meet. It doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything in regards to this. It's just there. They'll meet again February 27th and then again March 27th. So it's a quick turnaround time. So I anticipate there'll be tasks laid out for each RAC member that they would funnel information to me if necessary, data, statistical information, whatever, other people to contact. Then we actually have to notify legislators 49 days before a rule goes into effect. So I'll be doing that. I'll be filing August 1st, 2023. So I give myself some time to work up the rules and kind of get that. I'm sorry. June 12th, both boards will meet and approve proposed rules. So we'll see how that goes. And then August 1st, I'll file with the Secretary of State. There'll be a rule hearing on August 16th. So aesthetics will be 9 to 12 and advanced aesthetics will be 1 to 4. Last day for public comment will be August 28th. Both boards will meet again on October 23rd, and then hopefully rules in effect on January 2024. So it's a long drawn out process. I hope that we'll have something completed by the first June 12th meeting, but you know, I can't see into the future. I can only anticipate. So if you're okay with what the advanced board came up with, I just need a vote to approve the RAC membership and communities likely to be affected in the rule schedule. And you could just say so moved.
This is Tracy, so moved.
This is Michelle. I second it.
Yeah, I will now call roll. Michelle,
Aye.
Tracy,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Harold. Harold must be multitasking. I'll come back. Kevin,
Aye.
Harold.
Aye.
Oh, okay. Okay, that passed. So I will now run us into public parties feedback. I actually got an email from somebody that wanted me to read into the record. I will do that. So at this time, the Board of Cosmetology will hear public and interested parties feedback. Members of the public, please wait until you've been recognized. Once recognized, please state your name and affiliation with the board. So Olivia Nelson emailed me this morning and asked me to read this into the record. Members of the Board of Cosmetology, thank you for taking the time to discuss and make recommendations as to who and from what groups would feel is a good fit for the new COS RAC. An esthetician who spent a great deal of time on the issue over the last 3 years, donated my money, my own money towards and poured passion into House Bill 2970, I would like to respectfully offer a few reminders to you all. The past legislation is a result of thousands of Oregon estheticians whose livelihoods were at stake by an overreaching narrowing of scope of practice for standard estheticians. I, along with many other estheticians, have worked very hard to educate and familiarize Oregon estheticians with the issues surrounding the scope of practice for standard estheticians, as we deserve fair representation on the RAC. We are concerned that the RAC could get dominated by people or associations who may have conflict of interest in regards to the narrowing scope of practice by standard estheticians. Therefore, we appreciate you keeping in mind when making recommendations for a new RAC. Thank you for this. Thank you for your time, Olivia Nelson. Okay,
Thank you.
and then we've got two people here in the audience, actually live in a living color. And I think we have some people on the phone.
No.
No one on the phone? Kiana left?
No, I'm still here.
She's here. I don't know where she's calling in from, Nate. No, on the phone. Okay, so is there anybody other than Kiana on the phone?
Yeah. I'm on the Whitney Berry.
There's more than one person
I
on.
know, I didn't have any other.
Really?
Mindy Peterson on.
There's
the phone as
13
well.
people? Alrighty, okay. Did they all email you? I'm assuming no. No one emailed you?
Yes, I emailed.
Well, I'm gonna have the people in the
I
room
emailed
make
you.
comments first, and then we'll go from there. So Brenda, do you have comments?
I do.
Malik, do you have comments, or you just don't have any comments?
Okay, I have lots of comments.
This is Brenda Lutu Clayton.
Thanks. So just recapping on this breakdown of groups that you have that you guys want to reach out to and be inclusive of. I would, I know that this was on one of the state board meetings previously, but it wasn't said to people who were on the phone. So based on the estheticians that are licensed currently in Oregon right now, what is the breakdown of these groups? And their political affiliation, economical characteristics, historical characteristics, as far as how it relates to the people whose actual lives it affects. So I submit to the board that it is important to be inclusive, but at the same time, when we're talking economically for people who have been licensed for 30 years, as an example myself, and how this bill really impacts us in our life and our businesses, I would like to kind of know, like, what sex does it represent? So for instance, how many do we have? How many estheticians do we have in the low income person communities? How many do we have in the veterans community? And then I'm not really clear on political characteristics and why that would be impactful to making a decision about devices that we use. Historical characteristics, I would ask the board, let's elaborate on that. Yes, understanding we want to be inclusive, but what is the breakdown of the people that it's actually impacting? I also would submit to the board that how this all started in the beginning is because of lasers. So we wanted to protect the public. That is the board's job. That is why we have the State Board of Cosmetology, to protect health and safety of the public. When we got the Advanced Aesthetics Board, we then started going down a pathway of excluding people who had been licensed for multiple years. Now I know, Sammy, you did tons of outreach to get people to communicate and to say and have their opinions, and nobody did, and they didn't reach out. And I think a huge reason for that is a lot of estheticians are single females who are working in a small environment where they don't have the resources. If they're booked up with clients and stuff, they can't get away to come to meetings. They don't have communication from the board, either via email or legislative outreach to be able to do that. When they heard about it and formed the coalition of the Oregon Estheticians for Fair Licensing, they started to be more aware of it, have Facebook communication. But I think that there are a lot of people who, English is their second language. There's a lot of people who are, the United States is not their home, their country of origin, and those people have a lot of barriers to having insight on this. There's a lot of estheticians that have been practicing in other countries for multiple years who have great insight to this that we're not reaching out to. And I don't know what category that fits into, but the outreach definitely needs to go to those independent contractor estheticians, those people who are isolated into one-room facilities. That is the core. That's why I say go back to looking at what the core of estheticians are and how that affects them. Because there have been people I have seen since this whole, everything has been happening with the advanced estheticians, that it was to protect the public from lasers. And then we went down a whole different pathway, and there are people who have retired, who've sold their businesses and left the state, because there was so much of a barrier for them to make a living doing what they had always done. So in closing, I just want to say that I think there needs to be a lot of outreach on this. I think there needs to be a lot of fairness to the committees that are put on this. I think that you might want to open it to more than 12 people. And to reach out to some of the people that it directly impacts, to let them hear their voice.
This is Michelle. I would like to say thank you. And was the last person that was speaking, was that Brenda?
Correct.
Yes, Brenda, I think what you said validates the Rules Advisory Committee coming up with those groups of people that are going to be impacted. And like you said, for people that have come here and English is a second language, they've worked so hard. I would hope that you would submit, names even to Sammy that you know of that could be on that advisory committee. We would appreciate your help with that.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm writing. Okay, so we'll move to the phone line. I don't know who's on here, so I'm just gonna have to wing it with one person at a time. And please clearly state your name for me, and I'll just, one person take it away.
Well, I will go first. My name is Whitney Carrier, and Sammy, I did send you a notice applying for possibly being on the Rules Advisory Board. I personally, this whole subject is really close to my heart. I've worked actually in body sculpting for over 4 years. I personally am really passionate about technology and devices and kind of being able to move forward as an esthetician in the technological world. And I think that's where we're headed. I think that's what our clients, what they want. And I personally employ 6 women. I work with women that are from a lower income. I actually personally spend a lot of money on furthering their aesthetic education because they come from situations where they can't even spend the money to get the dermaplaning and chemical peel certifications. I mean, they don't even have the money to go toward advanced. I try to pay them a wage that I think is very livable, but to go toward advanced education, I know it's a stretch for some of these young girls. And but I want them to be able to do services that are safe for the public, because that's very important. We want our people to be safe. I also want them to be able to do things that the public feels is something that they can, you know, I don't know, that can give them a living wage. So I feel very, very passionate about like where we are at in devices. I think that there is a place for actual like high-powered medical devices that are out there. And then I think that there are basic ones that can provide, I think, you know, I guess services that clients feel, you know, deserve, you know, higher dollars for the services that these girls can kind of, you know, get paid a little bit better, have a better living wage, but don't necessarily have to get a high loan that they're just paying back. But then if they want to go further, you know, then we have other devices that are out there. And so I feel like I personally have a really good gauge on those kinds of things. So I just feel like there's exciting things on the horizon. I think there's enough for everyone, for everything. And so I just kind of want to put that out there.
Okay, is there anyone else? There's what, 13 people, Nate?
There are, 13, yes, 13.
I can go. My
Okay.
name is Catherine Wheatman, and I've been licensed as a regular esthetician, started in Washington and now in Oregon for 17 years. And I'm an independent contractor at a small spa in Northeast Portland. And I definitely do feel like I am, you know, part of the demographic where things have been a real struggle to stay open through the pandemic. And it's just stressful to think that a lot of the modalities that we've already been practicing for such a long time are, you know, potentially on the chopping block. And that I know for myself, I've looked into advanced certification. And it would be a struggle for me financially. I am the sole income provider for my family. And I just wanted to, you know, the first two gals that shared, I just resonate with them. So I don't want to be overly repetitious, but I just wanted to say that I am here and I'm a person that would be really affected, you know, by a limited scope of practice. And I really second, I think Michelle was that the second speaker, that there's a lot of new innovations that are safe, and I want to be able to work with those, you know, as things evolve. And one maybe a point that could just be up for part of the conversation is, what are the statistics around people getting injured by estheticians? Because in my 17 years of practice, I've had almost no poor outcomes. You know, a few reactions, but no one has ever needed medical attention. So I think that that's relevant. It's like, are people getting injured? Because I don't hear about it in my community. So that's all I wanted to add, and thank you so much for hearing me today.
Thank you.
Hi, I want to make the comment.
This is Michelle. Is there anyone else on the phone?
Yes. Oh, I muted my micro.
Yes.
Can you not hear her?
Can you
Michelle?
can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you
now I
hear me
can.
Okay, I muted mine. Oops,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. My name is Linda, and I practice in North Portland, and I was licensed in Georgia, and I moved back here because I am a native of Portland, but moved back in 2011, but I've been practicing for 15 years now. And some of the services and devices, like the caller said before, we've been using, I know I did in the state of Georgia because we trained with them for all of this time, especially things like microdermabrasion and high frequency or galvanic, some of the basic things we've been using for a long time. And so for those things to, it would limit services for some of us
who are very experienced is, we're now having to change our certification to advanced certification. And we've been slowed already with the pandemic, and now this would be a whole nother barrier, especially if it's like our sole income. I'm full-time and that's what I do for a living. It's gonna be a barrier. So I don't know if there'll be another meeting before that to discuss the concerns that most of us estheticians have presented today, but if these comments can be brought up with some intensity, it may be some inclusive, include us in some of the decisions being made and even ask us some questions, and then present us with some statistics like was requested just a little bit ago about how many people are really getting injured and what kind of esthetician was that was performing those services. Is it a new person? Is it an experienced person? Just all of those things. So I just wanted to throw that out there to add to the previous comments that's been made. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Adel Morgan. I own a medical spa in West Glen. It's been around for about 3 years now. I've hired advanced estheticians. Rarely do I hire basic estheticians. However, what I have found in my 3 years that advanced estheticians go to school not to do body sculpting. Advanced estheticians go to school to do lasers and primarily facial aesthetics. My challenge as an employer, I've gone through about 50 advanced estheticians. I pay very, very well. I'm one of the highest paid in the market in the Portland metro area. I create a very safe environment and an environment that allows people to grow. The problem is nobody wants to do body sculpting when you're in the advanced credentials. They go there again for just lasers. So the board needs to think about this. There is a difference when you look at machines. There are machines that do what's called apoptosis, and they're more medical grade, like cool sculpting. What you're doing is you're commingling, you're coalescing a machine that has lower energy with something that has extremely high energy with a lot of statistics of injury. And I think a lot of the women here on this call are not doing any full sculpting or any apoptosis for that matter. It's mainly skin tightening. It's mainly lower energy. I have probably done about 10,000 clients, not one single injury. So I think that the board really needs to look at some statistics and data. I encourage everybody on the board to really do the research on machines and really know that your decisions are going to impact every esthetician out there. And just to mirror what some of the estheticians have said, they can't afford to go to advanced aesthetic school. They really cannot afford it. It's $25,000 after you pay your basic. So I really think from hearing all this that the board really has not done their due diligence dynamically. And it will have a major effect on businesses. It will have a major effect on estheticians. And again, people really need to do their research on the machines. This is not cool sculpting that people are doing as basic. They're regular radio frequency machines or cavitation machines, and they're very, very low energy, and there's no statistics out there really of any injury, as long as you follow basic contraindications. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others on the line that would like to speak?
So, because I would like.
Is there anybody else that would like to make comment?
I wanted to say one thing. My name is Mindy Peterson. I'm a licensed master esthetician in Washington State, and I just recently was licensed. Got my license in Oregon, And, yeah, it was very confusing to me on how to transfer and whatnot over that way, but didn't really, to
Not
be
even gonna
honest
do
with
it
you.
anymore.
Oh, I don't know if anybody can hear me, but I just, if you can, I wanted to thank you all
Yes.
for being in this meeting today. It was amazing. And for the last person that just spoke, I found that very interesting as well. I really wish there was more people listening and we would all get into this a little bit more. I'm really interested. Thank you for your time, everybody. And it was great listening in. I just wanted to say thank you for this wonderful information and meeting today.
Thank you.
Michelle, can I make a couple statements?
Of course.
Okay, so first thing is, it sounds like several of you would be interested in being on the Rules Advisory Committee. So once this, there'll be a cover letter and the interest form goes out. Get it back to me. There'll be a deadline date on there. Please try to adhere to that, and please understand the meeting dates are set. And if you can't attend, do not apply, because if you can't attend, I can't put you on, because these are hard and fast dates. I'm not gonna change them. And I always get people that can't attend, even though I clearly state the dates that are available. The boards have both approved. So there's that. Second, I think I heard a lot of people talking about not being, that microdermabrasion is not in scope, and that the advanced estheticians are gonna take that, galvanic current, high frequency, all those things are in basic aesthetics. 2970 moved all of those things as mechanical devices into basic aesthetics. I hope nobody is under the impression that they're not. So just, I'll send my letter out again that explains that. So it sounds like there's some confusion. And what's my last thing? If you have any
This is
research or
Michelle. Sammy,
data
thank you.
or anything like that, please send it to me. That's it.
This is Michelle.
Mindy Peterson
Thank you
again,
for
as far as
clarifying
this-
that.
Yes, no problem.
This is Mindy Peterson. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to clarify. So is an LED also is also included in basic aesthetics? Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
I'll read you off the list so that everybody is super clear. So 1 second. Galvanic current, high frequency microcurrent, light emitting diode therapy, and microdermabrasion. Mechanical apparatus or devices. And then there's a caveat that, where's the caveat? On here.
Including but not limited to.
Do you want me to read you the actual language? Can somebody mute their phone?
This is Mindy Peterson. I just want to let you know I did get all that information. I was just clarifying LED.
Okay, I just have those 3 comments to make, so. Michelle,
Yes.
anybody else have a comment? Okay, now there is other board business. Does anybody have other board business?
Sorry, I had my phone on mute. This is Kevin Easter. I have to agree with some of the public comments. I feel that we run a higher risk with different chemicals that we apply during skincare than what we see with mechanical instruments. I don't hear of injuries with those, but I hear, skin reactions, allergic reactions. And that's all I have to say there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Okay,
there
any
anyone
other-
else public comment?
I don't think so. Does the board have any other business they want to attack today that we can move to the next meeting agenda in January?
I don't.
Okay, I will take us out. If everyone's ready, the Board of Cosmetology meeting is adjourned at 11:10 a.m. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sammy.
Thanks, Sammy.
Thank
Thank
you.
Bye.
Thanks, Sammy.